All right, guys. Welcome to Students of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast for Infinity Gauntlet. Um, this is myself, Dan. If you guys want to just go around and introduce yourselves real quick. That was a terrible introduction, so you have to excuse me. But yeah, if everyone else just wants to go around and introduce themselves, we can start with Vince, I guess.
All right, as you said, my name is Vincent.
And I guess Mike's going to introduce himself by eating.
And this is the other Dan.
What's up, other Dan? So we don't have all of our Infinity Gems assembled today, but you'll see them on the thumbnail of this podcast. But so we all know that Infinity War is coming up in April 27th now. It was moved up a week, and I figured, after reading Infinity Gauntlet, why not sit down and discuss it with a few people as Mike puts a fortune up to the camera.
Because our sponsor this week is Kiko Man soy sauce.
There you go. Well, there you go. Go out and get your Kiko Man soy sauce today.
Actually, we have two sponsors this week. The other sponsors is Uncle Chen's in State College. The worst Chinese food you can get, but the most Chinese food you can get. So
exactly.
Big plug for them. They're not sponsoring us. We're just giving them a throw.
And I think they would enjoy being sponsored by a Students of S.H.I.E.L.D. podcast. So
we got Jim's Italian Restaurant, and now we got Uncle Chen's. We're moving up in the world.
I was just about to say that. There you go. So obviously, as we go along here, we'll talk about the main storyline. We're obviously going to deviate a lot from it, probably talk about the stuff leading up to as well as the stuff afterwards. But like I said before, the movie's coming up in maybe not. The movie's coming up in a few months now, or I guess a few weeks, getting down to like 6-7 weeks now. So just to go through a few things real quick in terms of like information for you guys. So Infinity Gauntlet is a 6-issue miniseries that was published between July of 1991 through December of 1991 by Jim Starlin and George Perez and Ron Lim on art. It's 256 pages, so 6 king-size issues, double-size issues, whatever you want to call it. And it's in many different formats. You can get the trade paperback, which is, if I can pull it out here, boom, is what I have. So does Vince. So, you can get that version, probably the most affordable version you want to get.
I disagree.
What was the most affordable
version is what just came out this week.
Well, I'll talk about that. So, yeah, the trade paperback, you can also get a Marvel Premiere Classic, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't think that might be out of print, or I don't know, whatever. It's a little bit more expensive. It's a hardcover. You can also get the Omnibus, which has the stuff leading up to it, as well as the tie-ins and other stuff. So, pretty big book. And then, like Mike said, you can get the box set, which has all the Gauntlet stuff, War, Crusade, and then I think Gauntlet like companion, right? If someone wants to comment on that.
Yeah, it's got
not that expensive.
It's got like 8 hardcovers. I think it's a cover price of $500 for the box set, and it has a lot of stuff, but a lot of the tie-ins really are not necessary. And you could even argue that it's missing certain things, so I would just pass on that. Especially within the context of Infinity Gauntlet, just pick up Infinity Gauntlet, just the paperback. And if you want to expand outwards later, then you can figure that out.
Yeah,
if you want a good deal on one, meet me in a back alley.
Yeah, so just to go off of what I guess Vince was saying, this event really kind of stands on its own, but and when you think about it, right, this story is really the biggest thing I guess I want to talk about today, and we'll get into this, we'll talk about it a lot, is, when you think about this book, especially with me at least, I think about a lot of it, a lot of people see it as it's a big Marvel event. I think that's what a lot of people think the movie's going to be about. It's going to be like that. But when you really break it down, you look at this story, it's really kind of fully centered around Thanos and Adam Warlock and their relationship with each other. And, a lot of stuff that happened before this, as well as stuff that leads up to after this with War and Crusade. It's really centered around that whole relationship. So, some of the things maybe we can talk about. I know Vince just pulled out some material that we can talk about as well with Thanos and Adam Warlock. But would you guys say you agree with me on that it's kind of like centered around them, those two, but you have all the other Marvel characters in it as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is clearly like spinning out of things that Jim Starlin was working on dating back to the 70s. And I get Marvel just decided to sell it as an event based on the talent involved and the format and everything like that.
Yes, and yeah, just going off of like what Jim Starlin obviously is credited for the creator of Thanos, and just going off just to give you guys a little bit of breakdown and our audience, I guess, some breakdown. You guys all know this. Thanos is known as the Mad Titan, the brother of Eros, which is Star Fox, and the son of is it Alars, which is the Mentor. So he's from Titan, and his first appearance was in Iron Man Volume 1, number 5, in February of 1973. So, like Vince was saying, Thanos has been around since the 70s. Adam Warlock goes even further back to 1967. So, you have these characters who have been around for a while, like almost 20 years, and then they show up in Infinity Gauntlet, and it's just a great story. So, I don't know. Does anyone else want to comment on anything about that at all?
Well, so Jim Starlin did a bunch of Warlock stuff.
Yep.
You can read that. This is from the 70s stuff that Dan was talking about. The earlier Warlock stuff before Jim Starlin is not really important. And then tangentially related, Jim Starlin also did a lot of Captain Marvel stuff. This is the original Captain Marvel, Marvel, and Thanos is heavily involved with this as well. And that Iron Man issue is that where Thanos first appears is all over the place, as well as an appearance in Logan's Run number 6, which is like a tie-in to a movie. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And Drax and all these other side characters are also date back to a lot of this stuff. So now, where we want to go? We want to talk about some of the other direct prelude stuff, because I know, Mike, didn't you read some of this?
I attempted to, but didn't finish it.
All right, yeah. So right before Infinity Gauntlet, like we said, like it's an event, but it's really spinning out of things that are relatively smaller. It's not like every character was leading into this. Silver Surfer, there's a bunch of tie-in issues or lead-in issues that lead into this, and Jim Starlin was writing Silver Surfer, and Ron Lim was involved with that series. And then there's a 2-issue miniseries called Thanos Quest, which shows Thanos actually assembling the gems, which you don't see in the actual Infinity Gauntlet storyline. And that directly preceded this. And it's kind of weird that it's off, like that they don't just put it in Infinity Gauntlet. Of course, if you have like the omnibus or something, or the box set, you have it. But that's usually combined with those Silver Surfer issues and they title it Rebirth of Thanos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say, I did some research on like this. I didn't actually read it myself. I might have to pick it up because I'm interested in it. But yeah, like pretty much the story just opens up with Thanos already having the gauntlet and talking with Mephisto and like just chilling and thinking about what he's going to do with the gauntlet. So, so yeah, I mean that's something that I think I probably have to pick up. But another thing too, just to mention, I guess, like Adam Warlock, I think, also has a little bit of backstory here that, like, I know for me, I don't know if anyone else felt like this when they read it for the first time, but I was a little confused with like the people that were like shown in the first issue, because like as we get to it, like when you figure it out, like those three like humans are like reincarnated versions of like Warlock, Gamora, and Pip, and I didn't realize that until like Pip opened the door and saw like Warlock's like cocoon. So like you obviously like have to like figure out like those are who they are first before you get into the book. But I don't know. Did anyone else feel like that, or no?
No, I was able to figure out who it was.
Okay, of course.
Yeah, well, I think it's teased a bit. Like you're not necessarily supposed to know exactly who it is off the bat. If you haven't read it before, it makes sense that you don't know who they are until they build it together. It just seems like they're kind of just showing like random like civilians, like maybe because they're gonna die, to show like the consequences of Thanos' meddling and stuff like that, but leads into something different.
True.
I really didn't pick that up as like reincarnations of Pip and like Gamora. For a moment there, I thought like she was like supposed to be She-Hulk or someone.
Okay.
Yeah, because the first clue is they call attention to her green skin.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yep. That's true. So I guess like real quick, I mean, we'll obviously like, jump around the story a little bit, but I guess real quick before we get into it, like, what is everyone's like overall general opinion of this like story? I guess it's like, like was it executed well? Like, what do we like just overall, and then we'll get into like the nitty gritty, I guess. But does this story stand the test of time? I guess, or is it like something of its time? Whatever. I don't know. What'd you say?
It's all right.
It's all right.
I think it definitely holds up. I think this is one of Marvel's like best events of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But like we've said multiple times, it's not really like you can argue that it's not really a full event. Like the actual impact of it, it is. But as far as the story wise, a bunch of like quote unquote normal Marvel characters, they get really cool spotlight moments and stuff. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not about them, and they don't do a ton. It really just is completely a cosmic story, featured like mostly related to like a handful of characters. But art wise, writing wise, I think it definitely holds up, and I think it's a genuine classic.
Yeah, because I heard someone say online today that it's probably one of the top 5 Marvel stories of all time, and I don't know if that's just if it's they're just putting it up there because of the the obviously like the association it's getting with the movies and stuff like that. But I mean, I thought it's one of those books like, and I think like this is the first impression I got is that was probably the fastest I've ever read 256 pages in my life. Like I was probably the most interested in this book than I was in almost any other book I've read. And like it's not just because like it was Infinity Gauntlet. It's just like the art and the writing was just like very and then some of the stuff that happens in this book, you're like, did that seriously just happen? Like I think we'll get to issue 4 where like everyone just starts kicking it, but yeah, it's just that's the first impression I got was that it was just, and it's so rereadable. I think just to go back and look at it, but
I mean, as far as first impressions go, it's such a breeze to read because knowing how things would be published today, this thing would probably be a 12-issue maxi series with at least 2 issues tacked on to the end of it,
oh yeah,
drawn out to a point where it's just not fun to read anymore. So it's kind of amazing to now think that they got this much packed into 6 issues. But it's very nice to know that because, oh my God, if this was like, it wouldn't work if it was stretched out more.
yeah. I was gonna say, like, I feel like it's funny because we talk about Marvel events, and the first thing that I think of, right, when I think of Infinity Gauntlet is like in terms of events, I think back to Secret Wars, which was Marvel's first event that, if I'm correct, right, Vince?
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's just you think about that event and you think about this, and it's just this event is just feels so much like more concise and more to the point, and every it seems like every issue has more drama built into it because of the fact that it wasn't so long. Like I feel like Secret Wars, that's the biggest thing. That I really enjoyed that event, but at the same time, I feel like it dragged on for way too long. It shouldn't have. I don't think it could. It should have been 12 issues. I think that could have also been built into 6 issues and still could have had the same effect as Infinity Gauntlet did. But I don't know if anyone wants to comment on that. But I kind of felt like that.
If the way I view event comics, the way they're supposed to work is it's your big Hollywood blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
This works and feels like a big Hollywood blockbuster, and it doesn't. It gets its shit and it gets out. It doesn't stick around. Everyone gets their moves in. You send the crowd home happy. Like I said, it doesn't. There's not long-standing sequences of issues where it's just people talking. Well, the first 2 issues are like that, but like that's all planning. Because by like what halfway through issue 3, it's pretty much just an all-out fight.
Yeah, pretty much. I think like at the end of issue 3 is when they come through the portal and then they go after Thanos. So yeah, about halfway through.
The funny thing about the Secret Wars comparison is that Doctor Doom compares the events of the Infinity Gauntlet to, he says that it's probably the biggest peril that the Earth has faced since the arrival of the Beyonder in Secret Wars.
Yep.
And then, I mean, yeah, it's probably the biggest scale thing, the most important like universe-wide event, obviously, since then.
And even with like more recent Marvel events, this still feels bigger than any of the other ones. At least to me, like this still feels bigger than like something like Siege or Secret Invasion or Secret Empire. Like this all feels still bigger than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, so let's get into each issue. We'll go along as we go along. We'll talk about as we go along. But let's start with issue 1 and what we thought about it. So issue 1 is titled God. We all know, we can remember, kind of figure where that name comes from. Is I think one of the first splash pages is Thanos looking out, and he doesn't he make like God out of rocks or whatever? Or yep, there he is.
Yeah, it's right here, and it's Thanos practicing his sculpture techniques. And there's a page right before this that just opens with some narration. But I think this is like one of the most iconic splash pages of all time within like superhero comics. And then I mean, it's like you're not going to forget this splash page, but then also like a cool little detail in the bottom with these stones with inlaid credits, which is I'm always a big fan of when they manage to subtly incorporate the credits into like the scenery or the art. When Francis Manifold drew the Flash for the New 52 and before, he was always very lauded for that, where he'd sneak in the credits to like Captain Cold's like ice beams and stuff like that.
Well, something Starlin does, and this goes back to like the other stuff I've read. Like I read a little bit of his Warlock stuff. I haven't finished it yet, but like he plays around with the credits a lot when he does stuff. Like there's an entire issue of Warlock where it's just different, like it's his name but just rearranged in different names, and like so it's on every credit because he did everything on the issue. So it's like, yeah, I had to go and look it up. Like, who is this person? Oh, it's just Jim Starlin giving himself another name. So
yeah, I guess that's something to mention too. Starlin was also an artist on a lot of his own issues that he wrote for, I guess, Warlock back then. But yeah, for this one, he uses, he decided to go with George Perez, which I don't think anyone is upset with. But
George Perez until like the last 2 issues.
Yeah, and then he's like, I guess he left or something happened.
All right. Well, I want to talk about George Perez real quick since we just brought it up.
Go ahead.
Now. First of all, early into the first issue, at some point, some character randomly says the word crisis, and it's
yeah.
And so George Perez, one of his biggest assignments was the Crisis on Infinite Earths, probably DC's biggest cosmic crossover event to this point.
Is that the hardcover?
Yeah, and he's well known for that. And also, so Perez, as Mike alluded to, by the 4th issue, he's drawing like half a book, and then the 5th and 6th, I don't think he's penciling at all. Though he continued inking the covers to maintain some kind of artistic consistency. But the reason Perez dips is that at the same exact time as Infinity Gauntlet, he's also handling the War of the Gods crossover at DC, which was this big line-wide crossover spinning out of Wonder Woman, which was supposed to celebrate the character's 50th anniversary. But there was some editorial interference over at DC, not at Marvel, and it led to Perez basically going crazy and the events of War of the Gods changing last minute, and he ends up leaving that as well, pretty much more last minute. He ends up ending his Wonder Woman run, but to focus on that and going crazy from that is what led him to leave this. And the combination of these two big events that he kind of like dropped the ball on, partially not due to his own fault, but that confluence of events led to Perez getting a pretty bad reputation for not being able to finish things and everything like that. And so for a few years, he just kind of screwed off, and he worked at like Malibu and other like small companies for a few years because he wasn't really trusted for a while.
Wait, so how late? Oh my God, there's some echo. So how long was it that he started doing? Was he with Busiek on Avengers then later on?
Yeah, that's in 1998.
Okay.
This is 1991.
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, from everything I've seen of his art, I mean, it's just he's one of the greats for sure. So yeah, I didn't know that stuff. That's a shame of what happened, I guess. But yeah, so I guess just to keep going, I guess a little bit with issue 1. There's not really much that's happening in this issue except for I guess the Silver Surfer shows up, actually crashes through into the Sanctum Sanctorum, and basically tells Strange that Thanos is coming, and then
in the movie it's going to be Hulk.
Yeah, pretty much, because we don't have Silver Surfer rights just yet. And then we get a lot of good development between Thanos and Death. Obviously, the main reason why Thanos is assembling all these gems, why he's doing all the things he's doing right now, is that he wants to be with Death. So he builds her this giant palace, and she's not impressed. She's like, whatever. He actually resurrects Nebula into like this really like deformed like zombie thing. He's like, yeah, see, like, I can keep her on like the brink of death or whatever, and she's like, whatever. And then he's like, okay, well, if you're not gonna be impressed by that, I'm gonna snap my fingers and I'm gonna erase half the population. And just like that, we get all the characters that wouldn't help in a space fight to disappear. And then
the characters that Jim Starlin didn't feel like cramming into the story.
Yeah. Like poor Hawkeye and wait, let me see if I can find. I don't know. You'll probably find. Let me see if I can find it on here. There's a panel I think in the next issue that shows all the people that were taken out.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the issue.
Yeah.
Archangel, Beast, Black Cat, Black Panther, Fox, Dagger, Daredevil, Diamond Lil, the Fantastic Four, all 4 members of the Fantastic Four, Firestar, Guardian, Hawkeye, Hercules, Iceman, Makari, Marvel Boy, Marvel Girl, Night Thrasher, Night Star, Power Man, Luke Cage, Huck, Quicksilver, Sasquatch, Cersei, Shaman, U.S. Agent, Vindicator, Wasp, and Windshare all just vanished.
That's crazy.
More that all of California falls off.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So how many other?
I mean, the main people missing: Daredevil, Black Panther. Those are pretty high-profile heroes. Hercules is a pretty powerful guy. The entire Fantastic Four, kind of weird.
That's the biggest loss is that you don't have the FF.
Yeah. All of Alpha Flight, which are
okay.
all individually listed there.
Well, honestly, listen, I'm the biggest Daredevil guy in this room. He ain't really going to help in this scenario.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And most of
I'm happy he was wiped out because that just started his streak of like never being part of events, which was great.
And all of X Factor is gone except for Cyclops, who shows up late.
Not even Jean Grey.
Shows up to get suffocated.
Yep. But I want to point out a few dumb things while we're at it.
Sure.
So in the first issue, in the background, you see like a sign, and it says Hector Ayala, and like I guess he's performing kung fu in a theater, and so Hector Ayala is the White Tiger, and at this point he's retired from superheroics. But the tiny little Easter egg is noteworthy because the White Tiger feature in the black and white Deadly Hands of Kung Fu magazine was George Perez's first ongoing work at Marvel.
Oh,
so he snuck in that little callback.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And when Thanos snaps his finger and everyone just disappears, I liked how how Starlin shows different characters and like places in the world where people jump to conclusions about what's happening. For some reason, Hulk thinks the Abomination could do this. But then obviously, as you'd expect, the Skrull and the Kree, they both think the other did it. So they're about to go to war.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah, because they hate each other.
Yeah.
That's funny. And then also, Spider-Man sees people on the street vanishing. He's like, "Oh shit! What about Mary Jane?" And he
Yeah.
swings
I don't know
off.
why he would care about her. They're not married or anything.
Yeah. Wait, do they? I wasn't paying. I might have missed this. Do they go back to that? Does he ever actually check on Mary Jane? I don't think we see that.
Yeah, I can't remember. It might have been. I don't know if because he goes back.
Wait, what was their relationship status at the time in like 1991?
They're married.
Let me go. I'm
Like
gonna
they
check
should be now.
because I think there might have been something when Nebula turns back time.
Oh,
Think.
yeah,
I'm not
later,
sure.
but later on,
Yeah.
like we never see him check on her. Like he just said he'd Mary Jane, and the very next thing is he's like assembled with the other heroes to go off.
Oh yeah, yeah, he is. I'm guessing she was fine.
We get some nice spotlights on Quasar, who at this point is the cosmic champion as chosen by the cosmic entities.
Oh yeah.
But he also, I mean, he gets like spotlights in like the setup issues, and he does some stuff. But like all things considered, Quasar doesn't actually contribute that much. And I've talked about this before. Basically, at this point in Marvel, in 1991, you kind of had like different corners of Cosmic Marvel. You had Starlin going along with his stuff, and that's like in Silver Surfer, and then soon to be like the Infinity Watch and all the stuff that runs through the Infinity series. And then on the other hand, you had Mark Grunwald slaving away on Quasar, and it was never like out in the open, but apparently Grunwald with Quasar and Starlin with all his stuff, apparently they had some disagreements a lot of times on like where to take the overall cosmic side of the Marvel universe.
Yeah, I was gonna say that could be a little challenging. I mean, that's funny that you mentioned that because like I'm reading the Quasar thing right now, and yeah, Grunwald's doing that. So, yeah, I can only imagine like how that must have been. I feel like that must have been Starlin's territory though, right? Because he was doing it a lot longer than Grunwald was, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's basically like Starlin handled most of it in like the 70s and stuff.
Yeah.
But then there is a huge gap between most of that stuff and then Infinity Gauntlet and his Silver Surfer work. And the Quasar and all and some of the stuff that was building from other people, a lot of that had started before Infinity Gauntlet. So the disagreement is somewhat understandable because it's like we were sitting here doing the work all this time, but then obviously Starlin is getting to do the giant event book, so obviously his stuff is going to take precedent.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes some sense. So yeah, so I guess just continuing, we talked about all the heroes that vanished. We talked about Quasar. Just one more thing to say about Quasar. I think it's fine. We'll get to it. Is how he dies. Like it's kind of a little weird, but yeah. So issue number 2 is titled "From Bad to Worse," and like Vince said, Epoch, which is secretly Adam Warlock, is contacting Quasar about the Great Disappearance, as I guess that's what they're calling it, or something like that. He's also talking to Strange as well. And then this is when Doctor Doom shows up, and he's talking about, and then he's basically just like, I think he joins like Doctor Strange and stuff like that, and then he's stopped by Warlock and all that thing. And I think it's the next issue that he's like, "Can I lead, guys?" And everyone's like, "Fuck no." Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's funny how Doctor Doom just shows up.
Well, it's the same kind of thing where like that DC does when there's these huge events where it's like the villains are like, I live on Earth too, and even like some of the like really crazy or like really manipulative villains are like, this is my Earth. So it's like if something's like really large scale is threatening the Earth, the villains are going to come together too and help out.
Yeah, and another thing too is in issue 2 we see Thanos and his relationship with Eros, which is Star Fox, come to light as well. And the thing near the beginning of this issue, Star Fox gets basically just summoned by Thanos, and on that little tiny like monument that he built for Death, and he basically lectures like basically lectures Star Fox, saying like, you're shit, and he actually like in order to avoid Star Fox from using his powers of like, getting people to like him and all that stuff, and like convincing him to do something, he takes away or Star Fox's mouth, which I think is really funny, because like seeing the art of him without any mouth, I think is really hilarious. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah.
He's like, help me. No mouth. So, and then you just have a bunch of other stuff. So, and the biggest thing, I guess, about issue number 2 is the shockwave that's released. So we have the disappearance of half of the people on Earth. And then the next thing that Thanos does is he gets a little bit more pissed off, and he actually releases a shockwave throughout the whole universe. And this, the first thing that this screws up is Odin's on Asgard, and he's like, yo, he assembles like all the gods, and he's like, we got to go and stop Thanos. And then just as they're about to leave, I guess the shockwave breaks the Bifrost or something. He's like, well, guess we're not leaving. And then, so that really was a pretty convenient way to not involve them. And then you have obviously Earth taking a toll. Like we said before, the west coast of the United States basically falls into the ocean. A tsunami hits the east coast, and let me see if I can find it. I put it in the comic chat when I was reading it, but it's just too funny to not talk about the tsunami with hitting Trump Tower. So politics.
Well, it's a Trump hotel.
Trump Tower.
I see.
What?
One of his hotels in Atlantic City.
It's the East Coast.
I know.
No,
but
that's in Atlantic City.
Yeah, it's a hotel, because then the next few pages, Cap says that New York is totally fine somehow, and Trump Tower is in Manhattan, like near the Avengers Mansion. So Trump Tower is fine. Donald Trump is probably fine in the Infinity Gauntlet. Depends on where he is.
Unless he was one of the half of the population to disappear. Which,
if he was golfing in his Florida resort, he's definitely dead.
And then the last thing, apparently, I don't know if this, I read it on the wiki, and I might have missed it, but apparently someone says in the comic that Japan just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah,
like it totally got destroyed.
Thor witnesses Japan just disappear.
I'm sorry,
that's right.
Don't you mean Thunderstrike?
Yeah, he flies. He flies over it, and he's like, "It's not here." Is that it?
Well, he's not Thunderstrike. He's Eric Masterson as Thor.
Yeah.
So Thor also very quickly at one point points out, "Oh, I better make sure no one realizes I'm not Thor."
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I have all of his powers.
And Cap or She-Hulk or whoever's manning the communications, they send out word to all the characters that they're trying to assemble, and there's no word back from the X-Men or Excalibur. I have no idea what Excalibur is doing at this point. I don't know why they didn't show up, but the X-Men, they are, I believe, continuity is always weird.
No.
The X-Men should be actually dealing with the Shi'ar and Shi'ar space. And then right after this, their next arc, they come home for the Muir Island saga, and then Second Genesis, and then Claremont is gone. So that's just some reference as far as the timeline where this takes place compared to other series. Did you guys enjoy what Pip was watching on TV?
Oh shit! What was he watching?
Pip was watching Alf, that's right. And
Vince,
Marvel published Alf comics from 1987.
You want to tell us about Alf?
What?
Since you're a big fan of Alf, do you want to tell us about Alf?
I'm not a big fan of Alf. I don't really like anything to do with puppets and stuff. But Marvel did publish Alf comics from 1987 to 1992. 50 issues and 3 annuals.
Gee, that's too many issues.
I may have to custom bind it at some point.
Oh my god. Anyway, moving on. So the end of this, we basically see all this destruction from Earth. So basically, we've lost half of our population. The Earth is pretty much in shambles. So Warlock shows up, and he's like, finds Doctor Strange and Silver Surfer and Doctor Doom after kicking his ass, and it's like, we need to go find an army. So the next issue is titled Preparations for War, and this is pretty much, everybody gearing up for the war and talking about it. So, some of the things I guess to bring up too is, like I said before, Doom is in this group with all these people. He's like, "Can I lead?" And everyone's like, "No, you're just gonna sit. You're just gonna come with us." And then you have all these cosmic entities that, like, I guess Warlock tries to reach out to for help, and all of them give their excuses for why they can't help. Like, Living Tribunal's like, there's no crime being committed, so I can't help. And then Galactus tries to actually kill Warlock, but then he decides to help, I guess. And then the Watcher's like, I'm not going to help. And then everyone's like, yeah, we're not surprised there because you're just a little fuck.
Well, you're skipping over.
Am I skipping over some other people?
The first splash page of this issue is Thanos flexing his sculpture abilities again by taking a bunch of planets and spelling his name in the sky.
Oh, that's right.
Which doesn't, from the it's directly above the palace that he built for Death. So from their vantage point, it doesn't spell Thanos at all. Like, he had to have set up like a viewing point, like light years away, so they could teleport there and then properly see it.
It's still a little tough to read, like, even from like here, like, because like the letters are so bunched together. Yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty sure those planets aren't like, they're probably all frozen solid because they're away from their suns or whatever. But yeah, he's a little nuts. What else happens in this issue? You have Warlock talking to Hulk and Wolverine, and I don't know. Let me see if I can show you this. I thought this was a little creepy when I saw it for the first time. Where is it? It's like Wolverine and Hulk talking on top of the roof, I guess, of the Sanctum Sanctorum.
Oh, yeah. They're buddies now.
And like, I've never seen this, but like, you can see like Wolverine's eyes through the mask. Like, usually they either do all white or like, you know what I'm saying? Or they're giving us space, but it just looks a little creepy, I think. I don't know if that's just me.
I don't know. Didn't stand out to me that much.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the major characters they assemble, we get another kind of like roll call. Dan, you want to do this roll call again? On like page 97.
No, I think you got this.
All right. Iron Man shows up. Spider-Man shows up. Wolverine, Drax, Firelord, Namor, Nova, and Cloak. And then Cyclops and Scarlet Witch. In addition to most of the Avengers and all the characters we've already talked about being there. So not a huge squad, but it's respectable. And the Hulk hesitates, but Cap offers to restore his membership in the Avengers, which he's a founder of, but now they don't trust him for years. But he definitely does not join the Avengers again after this.
What a shocker.
So it's kind of shitty.
Can we all talk about how amazing Cyclops' X Factor outfit is?
Let's not.
No.
Dan, how about, do you have any context for what Iron Man's up to at this point? Based on his armor and stuff.
Well, it's 1991, right?
Yeah.
So that's what? Like, is that the beginning of
I think
Byrne's run?
Is he in John Byrne?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, because like, is it before Armor Wars 2 or something? I think it is.
Probably around them.
Boom. Hey, let me see if I can pull this down. See what we got.
Whole shelf full.
Yeah, actually, this is like, I think it's right in the middle of Byrne's run, because this is 1990 to 1992. So, yeah.
We also get a nice, it's a shame Nick's not here, we get a nice Moon Knight interlude.
Is it like, it's kind of funny, I just see Moon Knight now and just see Nick's face.
That's so creepy.
It's funny too, because like, I don't think most Marvel comics were really using that many in-text citations at this point. Like, there weren't as many like asterisks like as seen here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the industry as a whole was kind of slowing down on that, even though like I guess it depended on the editor and the writer. Like, if Mark Grunwald is writing a book, he's going to be using citations all over the place. But it's kind of odd because Moon Knight like directly references like a major story in his ongoing series, and it doesn't really matter, but he references directly. But there's no like, I guess maybe because it's an event, they don't like say like, oh, as seen in Mark Spector 28 to 30 or whatever.
Yeah, no, that is a little interesting, I guess. Yeah, because now that you mention it,
Because I'm trying to. Do we get any of those here? I don't think we get any citations, which is really weird, especially in the beginning when they're referring to those Silver Surfer issues in Thanos Quest, where you think they'd be like, "Hey, please buy those." There's a small chance that they remove them for the collected edition, but I still think that would be kind of weird and like too much
Want to
effort.
find out how Thanos has the power of a god? You should probably read these issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, that's kind of funny. Yeah, I don't know. We'll think about that. But
But as Dan was talking about, uh, when Adam Warlock shows up to all the cosmic beings, this is another iconic splash page, and often looked at by real hardcore Marvel nerds because it's just like people's obsession with DC and all the Lantern entities and stuff like that. The hardcore Marvel fans are obsessed with like all these dumb little cosmic entities, and depending on what edition of the book you have, Lord Chaos's face is smushed by the gutter loss.
oh yeah. Yeah, that's one thing that I know of, at least with Infinity War. All those covers suffer from gutter loss because they always spread over to. I guess that's when they did 2 covers. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no. So I know I really, and like as we go along, these cosmic beings will play a big role as we go along into the story, especially in issue I think 5. But just some more things too, some more eventful things that happen in this issue. You have Thanos creating Taraxia. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Taraxia, which is like basically Thanos with it, but it's a chick, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make you jealous, death." And then she actually gets pissed off and walks away, and he's like, "I am so pissed," so he gets mad. Yeah,
Basically, Thanos' rebound, girl.
pretty much. And she's like kissing him and shit, and then Thanos like, let me see if I can find it. That picture, like she's kissing him, and then like freaking Death walks away, and he's like triggered. Here, let's see it. Here it is. Like she goes and she's like kissing him, and he's like, "I'm gonna fucking kill you, bitch." He's mad, AF. So I think that's funny. And then the last scene is just them.
Now we're back to talking about this.
What?
Right now that you're done being cringy, we can get back to talking about the book.
Wow, whatever. Okay. Anyway, so the last scene in this is just, Doctor Strange being like, "All you guys can breathe in space, go into the portal, and then fight Thanos." So
Yeah, here's this convenient way how we'll all. Then don't they have to do the same thing in Secret Wars?
well, I think in Secret Wars, didn't they say like all of the like parts of the planet were like combined or something? I think they said something about that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, the Mosaic Battle World. I wanted to make another minor question. When Doctor Strange takes Adam Warlock, Silver Surfer, and Doctor Doom to meet up with everyone else, why doesn't he take Rintra, his Minotaur buddy, who is like totally he's like his sorcerer disciple, who's like somewhat good with like magic. Like if you're trying to make this big army, you might as well take people, even if they're not like A tier. Like just take them along.
Yeah, like
What's the worst? He can die.
That's what I'm saying. Like the only person you need on Earth, right, is Strange, right, for the portal. Is that why? So I mean, everyone else is fair game to just get thrown in there. I mean, shit. Anyone that wants to join, and then obviously you have this thing too where you have all these heroes going to fight Thanos, but then you have Adam Warlock and Silver Surfer chilling back, and Silver Surfer's like, "What are we doing? Like, we need to be out there fighting them." And Warlock's like, "No, just wait. Like, everyone else is the diversion. Like, we have another role to play." And I'm like, okay, what the hell's going on here as I'm reading it? So I think that's cool. But does anyone else have any comments on issue 3 before we get to issue 4, which is probably one of my favorite issues?
Because it's
there's once again another nice splash page of all the heroes assaulting the Death Palace. Everyone gets a little spotlight, and I love how Wolverine and Hulk, like everyone's like flying in and everything, and Wolverine and Hulk they just come out of the portal and they're just falling.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. I just noticed that. Yeah, and like Scarlet Witch and Cloak and Cyclops come out like right behind Mephisto. Yeah, and Firelord's. I forgot Firelord's in this story too. That's cool.
Yeah, Fire-Lord's a cool character.
I think so. I like him. I liked him in the X-Men comics.
Spider-Man nearly killed him one time.
Oh yeah, that's right. I read that. Okay. Um, so yeah, so issue 4, like we talked about, is basically Thanos killing everyone. But before he does that, he freezes them all in mid flight, mid attack, and he's like, I could just kill them all right here, like, just tap my finger again, destroy them. But Mephisto, whispers in his ear and is like, well, what if you actually like took away all the powers of all your gems besides the power gem and use that to fight all these heroes fair and square? Because if you could kill them all fair and square with your one power gem, then you could, you probably could impress Death even more. And he's like, at this point, she's like has nothing to do with him, so he's like, why not? Let's just see what happens. Which I don't understand. Like, it's not really fair. Even if you're using just one of them, like that's still not fair. You know what I'm saying?
Well, Thanos explains that doing so would allow the heroes only a 0.05% chance for victory.
I think that's a little too high.
From the
Even
beginning,
Thanos, why would I even allow them to have that much of a chance?
Well, no, it's because from the beginning we see that Mephisto's basically a double agent.
Yeah.
It's the similar motivation as Doctor Doom, but even less so, where he's like, yeah, I don't want everything destroyed either. So he's just taking advantage of Thanos's like just confidence and dumb motivations, where it's like, hey, I'll stave some time off. It's the same thing like Hawkeye basically does the same thing, and I posted about this recently when Hawkeye convinces the Grandmaster to play a game of chance to take advantage of the Grandmaster's like ideals, his whole view on life, which allows the Avengers to win. And there's other examples like this. You got to take advantage of the villains like dumb little hiccups in their logic.
Yeah, this just I feel like this just harkens back to like a lot of like old Marvel Silver Age comics where it's like the hero is definitely outmatched, and then the hero just says something to the villain that makes them like question their like thinking they get cocky, and then they just end up screwing themselves over. But this is like a little bit more subtle, I guess, in a way, like how it ends up happening. So yeah, let's just get down to the fight. So I'm gonna go through this list, and you guys can feel free to chime in as we go along. But these are all the different types of deaths that happen in this issue, and I might probably miss some. But the first one I can remember is the growths that like start attaching themselves onto Namor and She-Hulk, and they die. Like they envelope them and kill them, like suffocate them. Doctor Doom, I guess, tries to steal the gauntlet, gets thrown around a little bit, I think, and then is eventually killed. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Firelord is thrown into a wall and killed, which is kind of stupid because like it's fucking Firelord, and he probably gets like one of the worst deaths. Like he just gets thrown into a wall and dies, so that's annoying. Wolverine's skeleton gets turned from adamantium into rubber, and he just lays there and dies. Which I guess that's the only way you're gonna kill him, I guess, if you do that. Scarlet Witch gets like I guess overpowered and killed. I forget how she dies because I know her and Cyclops go at Thanos in two different directions, and I can't remember how she died. I'm looking it up right now.
Because it's a better death in this than he gets in Death of X.
Yep, Cyclops gets his head enveloped in a clear cube that like suffocates him. And it's funny when I actually read this for the first time, I thought he was like actually gonna like shoot the laser off and it's gonna like bounce around, and, like kill him, like shoot, like blast his head off or something. But
no, he does try and shoot the beam within the box, but the Summers brothers' bodies are immune to their own powers.
That's why when Havoc and Cyclops fight, their powers cancel each other out.
Yeah.
So Cyclops can't hurt himself with his own beams.
So here's how Wanda dies. So she tries, so Cyclops and Wanda try attacking him from each side. Wanda's like, oh shit, it's coming back at me. And then she just blows up in a red ball. So rest in peace, Wanda. And then who else? Thor gets turned. Well, Thor has a little bit of a better
Thor
battle.
Keeps coming back.
What?
Thor keeps coming back. He doesn't really get a send off at one point. When he gets turned back into Eric Masterson, but he still gets the hammer again and stuff. So
Yeah, but then eventually he gets turned into glass by Thanos, and then he gets smacked. Yeah, shattered. Nova gets turned into little toy blocks, which I thought was really funny. That's towards the end of the battle.
Gets turned into little toy blocks that Sam Alexander can play with.
Yeah. Quasar gets his hands fried off, and then he gets killed. Iron Man probably gets one of the worst deaths, which makes me sad. Traxia rips his head off camera, no less, and is like, "Here, Thanos, here's Iron Man's head," and there's blood dripping down from it. It's so gross. Let me see if I can find it.
Vision gets his wires ripped out.
Yep. And Vision had a little bit of a back and forth with. Can you see that? Yeah, right there. But yeah, Vision had a little bit back and forth with Thanos too for a little bit there. I also like how Cloak tries to send Thanos into a Dark Force dimension, and that doesn't work. So Thanos comes back and actually blows up Cloak coming back through the dimension. Let me see if I can find it. That one was good. I like that one a lot. Because like that's like that, it's funny, like, you know, a lot, like, we're at this point in like today's modern comics, we're so used to, like, you know, heroes dying and shit like that, but, you know, back then it was crazy to, like, all these heroes just dying in one issue. It's crazy. So you can see here Cloak trying to send Thanos into the dimension, and then Cap is like, did it work? Nope. Rest in peace. Yeah, or pieces, I guess. And then obviously, does someone want to talk about Captain America and him standing up to Thanos and all this stuff?
Yeah, it's cool. And then he just kind of gets pimp slapped and dies.
Yeah, but it's the fact that he stood up. This is like one of the best Captain America moments, probably.
It was up there. What was it in our top 5 when we did that? That's 2 years ago when we did the top 25 countdown.
Yeah, it was somewhere up there.
Check out that video.
Yeah, basically, Cap's one of the very few left, and he says, "As long as one man stands against you, Thanos, you'll never be able to claim victory." And then Thanos just destroys his shield, and then just like basically leaves him alone. He bitch slaps him, like knocks him out eventually.
It's a good moment that they probably won't do for the movie because of reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that just that line is in the movie. Like, it's just a waste of opportunity, but it's like they did the same thing with like Ultron. We would have words with like they just missed these like opportunities for like these iconic lines that comic fans all know.
I guess the one thing too to mention before he gets bitch slapped is Warlock and Silver Surfer try to steal the gauntlet out from Thanos' hand.
Yeah, they're hanging out on the edge of space, like enough where it said Thanos can see him, but
yeah,
they're just kind of buying in time, waiting for their one moment to actually strike, and they
miss.
Silver tries to zoom in and grab the gauntlet off him when Thanos has his hand pulled back, but he misses.
Yeah, so that kind of sucks. And then Captain America gets bitch slapped, and then Adam's like, "Well, I guess Plan B," and we all know what Plan B is, to use all the other
characters we assembled.
Yeah. So then that's pretty much the next issue, which is known as Astral Conflagration?
Or as I called it, a lot of bright colors flying at the screen.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty sure if this was on the screen, people would get epilepsy.
And we basically have duplicate splash pages where at the end of the one issue, you have the cavalry showing up. And then we have basically the exact same thing. But at this point, the previous one had some George Perez involvement, which is actually kind of interesting because you can directly compare the art styles. Because at this point, it's only Ron Lim on pencils.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty fascinating that they redid the same thing. But then before we have Uatu again being a dick and saying, "I can't interfere." Even though by this point, 1991, Uatu has interfered with like 10 things already.
But not when the Infinity Gauntlet was happening.
Yeah.
That's bullshit.
You gotta pick and choose.
Really? So when the whole universe is in peril, that's when he decides not to help.
That's when all eyes are on him.
But he helps when Galactus tries to eat her.
Yeah, so what the... I'm done. It's just ridiculous.
It's like you get one freebie. He kept using it.
Why make rules if they're gonna be broken?
because rules are made to be broken,
Yeah,
except when
that's
you break
true.
them too many times.
So yeah, so you have a bunch of entities trying to stop Thanos. You have Kronos, you have Master Order and Lord Chaos, Galactus, as we mentioned, the Stranger, Epoch, and Mistress Love and Master Hate. And obviously, like Vince said, Mephisto's a double agent, so he at one point tries to steal the gauntlet. And at this point, Death is even trying to stop him as well, because she's like, yeah, I'm not interested in you at all, so I'm just going to team up with Eternity over here and try to stop you. And then, yeah, just a bunch of splash pages of him throwing down and blowing shit up and going crazy. So
I mean, the biggest part about this issue, like, I feel like it kind of issue 4 was the big fun, and then like 5 and 6 are just kind of. I don't think they were as good for me. Like the biggest thing to take away from 4 is that Nebula is resurrected fully and gets the gauntlet because she grabs it,
yeah,
and then we end with her like having everything, and then like they got to regroup. Now Thanos has to join Adam Warlock and stuff. So
Yeah. Well, this fifth issue is just like full on like just all cosmic stuff. Like
yeah, it's all
the heroes
cosmic.
are gone, and there were like 5 pages in a row of just explosions. A nihilist even shows up for some reason.
yeah, because I guess yeah, like the disorder, like whatever's happening with this battle, like basically allows Nihilist to like invade Earth. She's like, heh, I'm on Earth, I can invade people now. I'm like, wow, you're an asshole. Doesn't matter though, because they're gonna reverse time eventually. So, but yeah, so the ultimate undoing of things.
Right into 6, honestly.
Yeah, like I guess
like as far as the discussion goes, no, still read 5.
Yeah, like just like Mike said, the biggest thing that matters about this is that Thanos destroys all these cosmic beings, becomes so powerful that he's like, I can leave my physical body and chill up here in the cosmos, and then Nebula's like, and then Thanos goes like, oh shit, wait, what about Nebula? And then Nebula picks up the gauntlet and then becomes powerful, and then Thanos is like, where the hell am I?
How would you take the gauntlet off? Like,
I know, like, well, no, he didn't take it off. Like he just like his body was like not like being occupied by him because he was up in like the space. So like she just went and like took it off of him, and then she kills Taraxia, that person who killed my favorite character, and then she's about to kill Thanos when Warlock's like, bruh, I got you, and then transports him away. And then he's like, you need to help us because you're a little shit and you don't know what you're basically like. I really like this conversation that Warlock has with Thanos, because he basically tells him, he's like, dude, like you suck, like you literally screw yourself over every single time. Thanos is like, yeah, I do. He's like, I'll help you. So, and yeah, so does anyone else want? I guess we can talk about issue 6, which is known as the final confrontation. So,
I've just been thinking, I don't know where Jack of Hearts is, because Jack of Hearts somewhat a cosmic character. And I believe either right before this or right after this, at some point he was hanging out with Silver Surfer. So I hope he disappeared. Otherwise, he should be here.
Yeah, I miss Jack of Hearts. I remember him in like the old Iron Man books. He was like really okay. He wasn't.
Marvel tried really hard to make Jack of Hearts a thing, but I think definitely his downfall is his terrible costume. Which is
I know.
You know.
Yeah, that costume is god awful. So yeah, so issue 6 basically starts with Nebula using the Infinity Gauntlet, and she's like, let's turn time back 24 hours, and then I think she kind of screws herself over, right? Because doesn't she become like that mangled thing again or whatever? Or
yeah, she can't. Yeah.
Yep.
And then you have
What are the chances of
Mary
the time
Jane
travel elements in the movie?
oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
It's not going to happen. There's no way.
Are you sure?
There's no way they're going to have her be as big of a role as she does in this book. There's no way.
Well, you don't think Karen Gillan can do that acting?
I think, well, maybe, but no, there's no way they're going to have anyone not named Robert Downey Jr. be the one to fix everything.
No, because Robert Downey Jr. is going to get his head ripped off.
Nope.
You don't think so?
By Taraxia? You think they're gonna do Taraxia?
Yeah, they're gonna make
We
Taraxia.
already know they're not doing Taraxia. They're doing the Black Order.
Well, I hope it's Thanos that rips off his head. I don't want anyone else to rip off my favorite.
The biggest thing is reading this book. I'm like, oh, the movie is going to be such different from the book anyway. It's going to hardly resemble it.
Well,
The only things that are going to be similar are that Thanos is in it, the Gauntlet, and some of the characters in this book are also going to be in the movie.
And possibly Death.
Well, for one, essentially, the movie that's coming out in next month will be more like Thanos' Quest, even though the movie is called Infinity War.
Yeah, it's true.
The next Avengers movie will be the closer thing to this story. At least one presumes, because Thanos still has to get. He has what? He has all the gems, but 2 now, or no? He doesn't have. Does he have any of the gems currently?
No, he has.
I mean, even with that one shot in the trailer, it looked like he only had 2 of the gems. He had the power and the space stone in his gauntlet.
Yeah.
I don't want this discussion to evolve too much into like the MCU discussion, but we know obviously he has to rip one out of Vision's head, and then there's one that we don't know where it is that's still on the table. So the next movie is just going to be him getting them all, and there will be fights, but then the next movie will probably be where things actually go cosmic.
That would be lit.
I just don't see him doing it. Like, just not. There's no way Nebula is going to get that spotlight.
I'm gonna laugh so hard when Nebula actually like does like become like the star of the movie. That would be crazy. Because I don't know about you guys, but Karen Gillan, like I don't like her acting is all just grunting and being really mad. But yeah. So yeah, just to continue, I guess a little bit. Eventually, Adam gets the gauntlet. Let me know if I'm skipping anything here. And then he basically is like, let the conflict end. Is that what he says? Or something? Let me see. Shit. Wait, where is it? Did I skip it? Isn't this when he gets the gauntlet and he's like, let the conflict end? And then basically he's like,
Yeah.
And then Thanos is like, I'm going to try to kill you all. And then
Well, then they stop Thanos again, and then we want to just talk about the ending. He's just living on some farm.
No. I'll tell you. No, the reason why he's living on farm because like he tries to kill everyone after like Warlock gets the gauntlet, and then Thor like hits him into space, and then he blows up. He blows up with the nuke, and then like I forget who it is. Someone's like, "What a way to go!" And then he ends up on the Soul World because he died.
Right.
And then Pip and Gamora and Warlock go to see him, and he's like, "How you doing, man?" He's like, "I'm sad," and then they're like, "Okay, bye." Did I skip anything, Vince? I think I did.
I mean, not much super important.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. Thanos is chilling.
Let's see. Where's the part? I gotta show you the part where he tries to kill it. He tries to kill himself with everybody, and then he just gets thrown into the. Yeah, here it is. So he tries to like blow himself up, and then Thor's like, "Oh no, you don't!" And he's like, "Boom!" And then I'm sorry if I'm showing this book a little bit too much, but I think that it's just some of the stuff just made me laugh. Like he gets blown up into all those pieces, and then I think who says it? The Hulk. He's like, "What a way to go!" Rip.
I'd say this about Drax in this story. Jim Starlin's Drax. I don't know how Drax would like cross the street without like some sort of assistance.
Yeah, he's really stupid. Was he stupid in this book too?
Yeah,
or
he's attacking
was it after?
supposed to going after Nebula and stuff when Thanos is trying to reach the gauntlet.
This version of Drax is pretty much from now to his beginning, and then all the way through, basically all the way Annihilation in 2006, which is when he got thinner and got the tattoos and everything like that. Or the Drax Earthfall or whatever it's called story.
And I don't know, Vince, you probably read the Aftermath book for Infinity Gauntlet, but some of the weird shit because like Moondragon shows up, and like Moondragon is his daughter, and he doesn't know that Drax doesn't know that Moondragon is his like daughter, so he's like hidden on her and shit, and I'm like, that is really creepy.
Yep.
I was like, oh my god, this is so cringeworthy. I'm like, stop. I'm like, stop, Jim. It's so bad.
Yeah,
So,
so that's pretty much the conclusion of the Infinity Gauntlet. Dan, what comes after it?
so after this, you have Infinity War aftermath or Infinity Gauntlet aftermath, which kind of talks a lot about Infinity Watch stuff. So basically, after what? Why are you shaking your head, Mike?
I'm cracking my neck.
Oh, okay. So after Infinity Gauntlet, you have Adam Warlock with the Gauntlet. And he's like, "Don't worry, guys, I'll be a good god." And then you have him sitting among all those deities that we talked about, the cosmic deities that were fighting against Thanos in issue 5. You have him sitting with all of them talking about, what are we going to do with all this power? Like, we don't want you to have the Gauntlet because we saw what happened with the last person who had it. So he's like, okay, well, I'll split up the gems and I'll give them to other people. So he gives, the reality gem to Pip, right? Or is that Space? I forget.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, he gets what?
You and Mitch are the only ones that have read that beyond this, so
Yeah, so he gives one gem to Pip. He gives one gem to Gamora. He gives the Mind Stone, I think, to Moondragon. Drax eats the Power Stone because he's stupid. And I think Pip actually sticks the Reality Gem up his ass, so that's great.
that's what
I would do. And then he gives it to one other person. I think, did he say it was Doctor Strange? I'm not sure who it was. And then, so basically Infinity Gauntlet's just a bunch of filler stuff, like just the Infinity Watch going around doing stuff, and then you get into Infinity War, which we might have to talk about because I actually really enjoyed Infinity War, but I won't tell people what it's about. I mean, I guess does it really matter? Or?
No, let's not go into that now.
Okay.
But we talked about how this Infinity Gauntlet story is pretty self-contained, pretty classic, and everything like that. But then after this, you have Infinity War, Infinity Crusade, Infinity Abyss, Marvel Universe: The End. There's a Thanos ongoing series that Starlin was involved with, and then you've got a bunch of cosmic stuff which is unrelated but continues this, and then Starlin's back for Infinity Revelation, Infinity Relativity, Infinity Finale, Infinity whatever. So it was kind of standalone, and then it just turned into this like career-long thing that Starlin was just flapping around on.
And did this whole story kind of bleed into like Annihilation and stuff like that as well, or?
Pretty much. The sort of the connection is kind of loose, but there was a Thanos series. There was a Thanos series which was 12 issues, around 2004 or something. And the first arc is done by Starlin, and then it's picked up by Keith Giffen, and continues that Starlin stuff, but then moves into the Annihilation saga and the Drax setup. They're sort of related. And of course, but before this is Marvel Universe: The End, which is a literal apocalypse of the universe. So it shouldn't be canon, but things directly lead into it and directly come out of it, so it doesn't make sense.
Wait, now, so who's that on the front cover of The End? Is that Reality or Eternity?
That's Eternity.
Okay, that's right. I forget. Yeah, and like Vince said, with Infinity War and all that stuff, like all those cosmic, I know, I just finished reading Infinity War, and Eternity has a big part in that, which is kind of cool. But so yeah, this is pretty much the start of all this, all the cosmic books that would come later. But I think that's the whole story. Does anyone else have anything they want to talk about? Any closing thoughts on Infinity Gauntlet at all?
It's a really good book, and you should definitely have it on your shelf.
That's great.
And probably don't buy anything after it.
Yeah, so like Mike was saying,
unless you want to immediately just go into Annihilation.
Yeah, so like Mike was saying, earlier at the very beginning of the podcast, they just released a box set for Infinity War or the Infinity, books.
Infinity Saga.
Yeah, and it's what's it priced at $500? But you can get
Yeah,
it for like
cover price is $500.
$500
for a bunch of standard size hardcovers. That's not worth it at all.
I don't even. Are they even hardcovers? I think they're trades. They just
They're
fit.
hardcovers, but I believe they are standard size.
Yeah.
They're not like they're not standard. Yeah, so they're standard size hardcovers, which is just annoying to read.
Yeah. So like, if I'm gonna pay that much, they all better be like oversized hardcovers, because like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no one, I'm not gonna pay $500. The only thing that I'm hoping for, and I don't know, I mean, I don't know if I'm gonna collect it, but I'm hoping that Marvel may like release some of these and like separately, but I don't know if they'll do that, because then it kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a box set. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I think some people want to have like reprints of like hardcovers of like stories, and you know, kind of collect it a little bit more organized way. But I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe
It
that's
is
just
what
me.
it is. It's confusing.
Yeah. Well, I guess that wraps everything up, guys. You know, Infinity Gauntlet is a great book. Like Mike said, definitely go out and buy it. It's essential reading for any real Marvel fan out there. And I guess, you know, this is just some more hype to get us excited for Infinity War, which, like I said before, probably won't be anything related to this except that Thanos will be in it. So, yeah. So I guess for students of S.H.I.E.L.D., this has been our podcast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on this video, guys. Make sure you check out our sponsors, because they're the ones who made this whole video possible. Right, Mike?
What sponsors?
Exactly. They probably already have disowned us at this point. Anyway, that's everything, so we're good.